Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a shocking turn of events that has once again shaken the core of Russia's strategic ambitions. A massive explosion has struck the Kerch Bridge, also known as the Crimea Bridge, the crucial lifeline connecting mainland Russia to the occupied Crimean Peninsula. This isn't just any bridge. It's a symbol of Vladimir Putin's power, his control over Crimea, and his ability to project dominance in the region. And now, for the second time, this symbol has gone up in flames. The explosion has sent shockwaves through the Kremlin, disrupted vital supply routes, and reignited fears among Russian forces stationed in occupied territories. What makes this event even more alarming for Russia is not just the physical damage, but the psychological impact. This bridge was supposed to be untouchable, the pride of Moscow's engineering and military protection. Yet, once again, Ukraine or resistance forces have shown that even Putin's most treasured asset is vulnerable. The Kerch Bridge isn't just symbolic, it's strategically essential. It serves as the main supply artery for transporting troops, heavy equipment, fuel, and ammunition to Russian-occupied Crimea and even into southern Ukraine. Taking this bridge out of operation means choking the Russian war machine at its core. Every tank that needs fuel, every soldier who relies on supplies, and every military convoy heading to the front now faces major delays or detours. This is why the bridge is constantly under heavy surveillance and military defense systems. But despite Russia's efforts, the explosion managed to bypass or overwhelm these defenses. Reports indicate that the blast was massive, large enough to rip through lanes of traffic, collapse sections of the roadway, and set fuel, carrying rail cars on fire. Videos circulating online show large plumes of smoke billowing from the bridge, sections of the structure twisted and burning. It was chaos. Russian officials quickly tried to downplay the damage, claiming it was localized or under control, but satellite images and eyewitness footage tell another story. This attack is not the first time the Kerch Bridge has been hit. Back in October 2022, another massive explosion severely damaged the bridge, shocking the world and humiliating the Kremlin. At that time, Putin immediately responded with a wave of missile strikes across Ukraine, targeting energy infrastructure and civilian areas. But despite his retaliation, the bridge remained a glaring weakness. After months of repairs, the Kremlin assured the Russian public that the bridge was fully protected and stronger than ever. Yet now, history has repeated itself. This new explosion proves that there is no such thing as perfect security, and more importantly, that Ukraine, or resistance forces working in coordination, have the capability and determination to strike at the heart of Russian logistics. This was not a random act. It was calculated, precise, and deeply strategic, and it came at a moment when Russia desperately needed stability in its supply lines. One of the most important questions is how the explosion happened. Early reports suggest that it could have been a maritime drone attack, similar to previous strikes using unmanned surface vessels packed with explosives. These sea drones are low profile, fast, and difficult to detect. They can slip past radar and defenses, making them perfect for targeting structures like bridges and ships. However, other sources claim it may have been internal sabotage, possibly explosives planted on the bridge or inside a vehicle. Either way, it raises serious doubts about Russia's security capabilities. If the attack came from the sea, it shows Ukraine's naval drone program is more advanced and dangerous than ever. If it came from land, then there are likely resistance cells or insiders working within Russian-controlled territory. Both possibilities are extremely embarrassing for Putin and his security services. The timing of this explosion is also crucial. Russia has been preparing for a new offensive push in southern Ukraine, trying to hold on to occupied areas like Melitopol, Mariupol, and parts of the Zaporizhzhia region. The Kerch Bridge is essential for those operations. Without it, Russia must reroute supplies through the land corridor along the Azov Sea, an area frequently targeted by Ukrainian artillery and missile strikes. This creates vulnerability and delays. Ukrainian officials have repeatedly said, if you cut off Crimea, you cut off Russia's ability to wage war in the south. This explosion is a major step in that strategy. Not only does it slow Russia down, but it forces them to spend time, money, and manpower repairing infrastructure instead of fighting on the front lines. War is not just about battles, it's about logistics. And right now, Russia's logistics just took a massive hit. The psychological impact cannot be ignored. For many Russians, the bridge is not just infrastructure, it's pride. Putin personally announced its construction. He drove a truck across it during the opening ceremony. Russian media glorified it as a historic achievement. Now, seeing it burst into flames once again sends a message to the Russian public: the war is not under control. Crimea, which Putin claimed was forever Russian, is not safe. Even the most protected targets can be destroyed. For Ukrainian citizens and soldiers, this is a huge morale boost. It proves that resistance efforts are working and that Russia's grip is weakening. It also sends a warning to Russian troops in Crimea: you are not unreachable. Supply lines are fragile. Reinforcements may not arrive, and evacuation routes might be cut off. Fear among occupying forces can be just as powerful as physical damage. The Kremlin's response so far has been predictable. They are blaming Ukraine, calling it a terrorist act, and promising revenge. But the truth is, every time Russia retaliates by striking civilian infrastructure, it only fuels further international support for Ukraine. Western nations see attacks on military targets like the bridge as legitimate wartime actions, while Russia continues to hit civilian areas. This contrast shapes global opinion. Already, European leaders and the United States have commented on the explosion, saying that Russia's illegal occupation of Crimea makes the bridge a valid target. Meanwhile, Russia is scrambling to downplay the damage while quietly moving resources to repair the bridge as quickly as possible. But repairs could take weeks or even months, depending on the extent of the destruction. During that time, Ukraine has a window of opportunity to increase pressure on the southern front. This explosion also opens the door to a bigger question. Is this the beginning of Ukraine's push to reclaim Crimea? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has made it clear: Crimea will be liberated, and the key to liberation is cutting off Russia's ability to defend it. The Kerch Bridge is the most important link. Without it, Crimea becomes isolated, supplies become limited, soldiers become vulnerable, and morale collapses. Military analysts have long said that severing the bridge would be a turning point in the war. We may be witnessing the early stages of that turning point. Of course, Russia will respond. They may launch new missile barrages, cyber attacks, or even escalate naval operations in the Black Sea. But the fact remains, defending everything, everywhere, at all times is impossible. Ukraine only needs to strike at key weak points. The bridge is won, and now it has been hit again. The world is watching closely. This explosion doesn't just affect the battlefield. It impacts diplomacy, negotiations, and international strategy. Some countries have been hesitant to support deeper Ukrainian strikes in Crimea, worried it might escalate the conflict. But with each successful strike, the argument grows stronger. Crimea is the core of Russia's war machine, and dismantling it is necessary for lasting peace. If the bridge continues to be targeted and supply lines continue to weaken, Russian forces may be forced into defensive positions or even retreat. That could open the door for serious negotiations or a decisive Ukrainian offensive. In the end, this explosion represents more than just physical destruction. It symbolizes the crumbling illusion of Russian invincibility. It proves that even the most heavily defended targets are vulnerable. It shows that Putin's greatest symbol of conquest can become his greatest weakness, and it warns every occupier in Crimea, your time may be running out. As repairs begin and tensions rise, the world waits for Putin's next move. Will he escalate further, or will this attack mark the beginning of the end for Russia's hold over Crimea? One thing is clear, this nightmare is far from over, and the bridge that once stood as a symbol of power has now become a symbol of fragility. The battlefield has shifted once again, and the balance of the war may soon follow.